Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel today. My name is Fred Parati. I am a commercial remote pilot. Here is my certification. And I want to just briefly get into a little bit of what's going on in New Jersey, my take, my thoughts, my opinion. Being a drone operator for about 10 years now, remote pilot 107 card holder for about 5 years, I do have some insight that I like to share. And again, this is all my personal opinion. I've been reached out by a number of people in the past week or two asking for my input, and I thought maybe it'd be a great idea to share my thoughts, as well as just get into a little bit of what I think about what's happening and share some of the laws about Part 107, commercial pilots, and the ability to fly at night and what those rules and regulations are. Recently, I've heard some misconception and some things that were said that were incorrect about drones are not able to fly at night. I'll get into that a little bit, but I want to deep dive into a topic that's crucial for all of us in the drone community. Nighttime drone operations as a Part 107 pilot for commercial or for recreational, and whether you're flying for photography, inspections, or other professional projects, operating at night comes with unique challenges, laws, and some safety concerns. So stick around. This is about more than just following the rules. It's about building a safer, smarter drone community together, as well as understanding what some of these rules are and maybe putting some people at ease on what's going on in the skies over New Jersey, as well as other parts in the country at this point. So stick around. So what is the difference between a recreational pilot flying drones or a commercial pilot? Well, a recreational pilot pilots a drone for personal enjoyment, such as taking photos for personal use. A commercial pilot is piloting a drone for profit or business purposes, such as taking photos to sell a property or service. Some other certifications and differences can include, a commercial pilot needs a remote pilot certification, Part 107, while recreational pilots do not. Operational limitations deal with commercial drone operations having specific limitations, while recreational drone use is generally safety guidelines. Some insurance that's involved. Commercial drone operators often require liability insurance, while recreational pilots may not. Drone pilots that are commercial have to have very accurate record keeping. They have to record their flights, while recreational pilots do not. And some other things to keep in mind. The FAA has stressed that compensation is not only a factor that determines whether a flight is for recreational or commercial. So hopefully you have a little bit of understanding now of the difference between commercial and a recreational flyer. We'll talk a little bit next about some nighttime flying and what some of those rules and regulations are. And then we're going to get into the topic of why you're really tuned in, what you actually think of what's happening over the skies with these drones. What are they? Where are they from? And again, something that's very alarming in a sense, but when you think about it and think rationally, really is not that alarming. And you'll understand that more when I get into what I think about it. Flying your drone at night. Section 107.29, operation at night. It is legal to fly your drone at night, but there are certain things that need to be done first. I wanted to throw that in this video as well because I did hear a comment by one of the news reporters on what's going on over New Jersey saying it's illegal to fly drones at night. Yes and no. It is illegal, but it is legal if you have the proper measures in place. And those we're going to talk about right now. If you Googled 107.29 operations at night, you'll be taken to the FAA website and you can read the lengthy pages, or you can just stay tuned and I'll summarize everything for you right now. So under Part 107.29, the remote pilot in command of the unmanned aircraft has completed an initial test or training under 107.65. So there's a small knowledge test that should be taken, and that's recorded. That needs to be taken through the FAA website, and you can do that. I'm going to put these rules for operating a drone at night on the screen. Please take a look at these, review them, take your time, and hopefully you'll have a better understanding on the safe way to operate a drone at night. There are a number of apps out there. One of them, here's an example. It's the Know Before You Fly app. Shows you where all the airspaces are. This is an example of a sectional chart. Also, you should know what airspaces you are flying in and what those restrictions are. And the app that everybody's been talking about is this Flight Radar 24, which shows all of the manned aircrafts in the area. And my last thought that I had, which I hope is not going to come to fruition, is getting all of the drones out of the sky recreationally. Now, if you think about it, there is a number of companies that are going to be doing deliveries. There's a number of people out there that don't want people flying over their house with drones. You know, they're very much afraid of their privacy, which I totally understand, totally agree with. And also the possibility of these things falling from the sky and crashing. You know, there's a lot of unrest. And the more people we have in the sky, recreational and commercial, small commercial people, you know, the more difficult that's going to be for these other companies to make their deliveries. So maybe these companies are doing this. Maybe there's a large company out there that's trying to cause fear so they can change regulations so they can get done what they need to get done as far as their deliveries. And you know what? The heck with everybody else. I'm getting my deliveries done. So let's invoke fear. Let's change a lot of these different laws. And the way that we can do that is by having some night operations. And you know what? It's been happening over New Jersey since November 18th, I believe, was the first sighting. And it's still happening as of today, the making of this video. Changes that are happening in the drone community. You know, right now, there's a lot of drones that are getting set up to do commercial deliveries, Amazon being one of them. You have other companies looking at creating drones for transportation. You have a number of companies out there that are going to be testing out this new technology. And perhaps some of that's going on at nighttime. They don't want people to see what's happening and what they're testing because these are all classified tests, whether it's through independent companies, whether it's through the government. Again, I really touched on that a bit, but you know, maybe there's some testing going on at nighttime on some new equipment, or you know, maybe there's some laws that need to be changed, and the only way to get those laws changed is through fear. They tried banning DJI's drones. Now, DJI is a drone manufacturer out of China. There was a lot of speculation that there was some information that was being shared through those drones. None of that was ever proven. You know, DJI has a product that is put out has what's called geo-tracking on it and geofencing. These drones, and I have 3 of them myself, at least, so maybe 4, but I do have a number of drones and they all have this remote ID technology. My drone is giving off remote ID signature and my drone is visible and I can provide that wherever it is. There is some locations that I can't go into because it has what's called geofencing on it, and those would be over no-fly zones, government installations, airports. If I were to take my drone and try to fly it into Picatinny Arsenal, which is literally about 5 miles away from me, if I were to take my drone and fly it into Picatinny Arsenal, it would stop. It would be like hitting an invisible wall because of geofencing. That geofencing is locked by DJI based on no-fly zones. So I personally would not be able to fly there without getting it released, reaching out to the FAA, and having a waiver submitted and having an approval set so that I could fly into that zone. You know, they probably won't let me fly into Picatinny, but there were some situations that I needed to fly near Morristown Airport, which is a different class. You cannot fly in certain class zones. That is an airport, and there's certain restrictions. In order to fly there, you need to submit a request through the FAA, and then that gets granted. So, or it can be denied. Anyhow, you know, that's some things that I wanted to talk a little bit about as well and add is the DJI auto fencing, how I can't personally, as well as anybody with a DJI drone, cannot fly into these geo zones. So it's another alarming factor. You know, how are these drones flying over government organizations? How are they getting into those areas? You know, obviously they don't have geo tracking, they don't have geo fencing rather, and they're just able to fly in there, which makes me wonder, if you trespass on a government facility on the ground, what do you think is going to happen to you? You're going to have a bunch of guards surrounding you and take you right up to the guardhouse, right? So you're not going to be walking on any government installations. So you shouldn't be able to fly over government installations. But I'm sure that it's pretty severe, and I'm sure that there are some severe penalties. And you know what? If there's a drone that flies over a government installation, shouldn't be there, get rid of it. Well, thanks for sitting through all of that. Hopefully you learned a little bit about operating drones at night and how it is legal or illegal in some cases. So, why are you here? You're here to hear my intake on what I think about why these drones are flying over New Jersey. And let me just clear a couple things up. The drone flying over New Jersey is likely a mixed purposes. Depending on their operators, many are used for legitimate or commercial and recreational reasons. And commercial drones might be conducting aerial inspections of infrastructure like bridges, power lines, or cell towers, capturing real estate footage or supporting public safety in efforts such as rescue missions. Now, a lot of this stuff would happen during the day, so operating them at nighttime is a little bit of alarming. In some cases, drones could also be part of government operations, such as environmental monitoring, wildlife tracking, surveying areas after storms, or other natural events. Now, I'm sure a lot of you remember what was going on the past couple of months, wildfires in New Jersey. We had drought situations, then we have flooding, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. And at first, around Thanksgiving, when I heard about these drones, I thought nothing of it. Right away, I thought, that's probably Picatinny Arsenal doing some testing on some new technology that they have. Didn't think too much about it. Then I thought, well, maybe they're surveying the grounds in the area of the wildfires that we recently had. Maybe doing some preventive maintenances, thinking, what could we do better so this wouldn't happen again? And I thought maybe the government or some outside organizations were involved in that. And that was kind of discarded a little bit when looking at all these different types of drones flying and nobody coming clean onto who they are, what they are doing, and why they are flying, made me think more of the lines of, well, maybe something is going on now and pointing more towards the government testing some equipment, or maybe testing our reaction times on how we are handling these things as a community. And, perhaps if it is some covert operations that are going on, they're not going to admit that they are doing things. I would not want them to admit that, to be honest with you. Why are we going to expose some classified information because a couple of people are afraid? Maybe just a quick statement saying that we are aware of it. There's nothing to be fearful of, which they've done, and where they are, where they're from. Maybe just a brief overview of, we're aware of this, we're looking into it, we have everything under control, there's nothing to worry about. A lot of these drone sightings that they're saying are aircraft. I would say at least 50% of them are either helicopters or manned aircraft. People are saying, I'm just going to shoot it down and find out what these things are. Well, you cannot shoot by law a drone down. By federal law, it's protected under the same laws that are protected by aircrafts that are manned. If you were to shoot a drone, it's just like taking a gun and shooting down a 747 or shooting at it. You cannot do it. It's against the law. And then that's going to cause a lot of panic. People are going to see these drones. It's flying over my house. I'm going to shoot it down. That very well may be somebody else, a recreational flyer, or somebody doing work, or somebody wanting to take some pictures of these drones with their own drone that's legal, and now they're getting shot at. And worst case scenario, which I hope never happens, is they start shooting at these things and it happens to be an aircraft, and then the aircraft comes down and crashes, killing people. That's not called for. That's not, we don't want that happening. We don't want the panic. Just sit back, relax. The government, I'm sure, knows of everything that's going on. I'm sure they have a handle on things. Unfortunately, they're not sharing things with us, but they don't have to share classified information with us. It's classified. We want to keep that classified. So hang tight. This has happened before. There's no alarms. I'm going to be monitoring the situation myself. I am looking and reviewing as much as I possibly could on the internet, which is not the greatest form of information, but when you do go through 100 different pieces and 3 of them are the same information, those 3 things got to have some kind of credibility to it. So that's the kind of what I'm going off of, making my own assumptions of what I think, as well as what other people are saying, and enough other people what are saying. So, stay tuned. I'm going to share as much information as I could, but right now I would say, don't worry, don't be alarmed, just be prepared. Always have your guard up. Always think of, stay positive. Have that rational thinking. Think about, how you would handle situations. Be prepared. I was a Boy Scout. My motto growing up was always be prepared. And that's something that we should always do. Be prepared for something that we don't know about. Don't have this widespread fear and panic. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your comments or concerns. Make sure you do post those in the comments section of this video. And I want to hear about what you have to say. Let me hear what you have to say. What do you think these reasons are? What do you think about what's going on over New Jersey? And what do you think about the future of the recreational drone flyer program, as well as the commercial pilot and command program for Part 107 pilot holders? A lot of information there. Love to hear from you. Thanks.